Okay, One Piece chapter 1005. We left off with some Gear 5 issues, but we're not going to address the Gear 5 issues today. Not saying that we have issues with Gear 5. More so, a lot of people are talking about Gear 5 and the issues they had with the chapter. What we want to talk about today is somehow, some way, the ultimate Bonney theory has been, I want to say, confirmed. Kinda. Chapter 1105 was emotional, especially considering all that Bonney and Kuma had been through. So it was a roller coaster, and Egghead has been a roller coaster. In the chapter specifically, Vegapunk did reveal something to Bonney about a power that was laying dormant that she did not even know. And it has nothing to do with her body. It literally just has to do with her life and her dad. Vegapunk took the liberty of creating a failsafe, or a way for any clone sharing Kuma's appearance would be programmed to obey her. So it doesn't matter if the entire planet is against him, Kuma will always be on her side. Now, you may say, okay, she controls the Pacifista. Yes, but that's not the only thing the world government controls that looks like Kuma. Yes, now you're starting to catch on. S-Bear. This is something I've been talking about. Didn't make a specific video on it yet. Didn't expect it to be covered this soon. But I mean, we were in Egghead. It makes sense. I should have talked about it. But the Bonney and S-Bear theory, I don't think is super confirmed yet, but we're heading that way. So you may be asking, what is the Bonney and S-Bear theory? Well, Bonney her entire life, and she is just 12, so it hasn't been that long. For part of her life, her dad had to abandon her because of everything that was going on. Now, Bonnie's goal was to find her dad. Now, she found him, he's a slave. Now, he's technically dead. The S-Bear theory revolved around Bonney spending time with S-Bear, where in a way, ironically, she was raising her dad because S-Bear is a kid, still needs to grow, but Bonney would be the one raising him, and Bonney and S-Bear would travel to all the places that her and Kuma were supposed to go to because S-Bear does have the Paw fruit installed using the green blood, and Bonney would get to have those experiences with S-Bear. Now, the beginning of Egghead, it kicked off with Rob Lucci and the others showing up saying, we just came back to deliver S-Bear. But S-Bear and Bonney, they have not interacted as yet. We saw what S-Snake did in the face of Luffy. What will S-Bear do in the face of Bonney? Even beyond that, Bonney, we now know, has the power to control every clone sharing Kuma's appearance. Now, Seraphim aren't necessarily clones, but it comes from that DNA. I would assume the same applies to S-Bear. If it doesn't apply, the instinct of S-Bear would take over, just like the instinct of Kuma took over to protect Bonney. I think it's the same thing. But think about it, Oda showed all the different places that Kuma went to try to save Bonney, and all the places they talked about in which they could go. Kuma is essentially quote-unquote dead, but if Vegapunk has everything there in Punk Records, why would he not make a failsafe for Kuma's memories? Part of the S-Bear theory revolves around, again, S-Bear, or Kuma's memories, being transferred into S-Bear, and Bonney and S-Bear going around the world and eventually showing up for the final war. Now, in 1105, or rather 1106, I believe I said 1105 earlier. If I did, I apologize. Oda has put the icing on the cake because now Bonney can control the Pacifista. You know what the perfect place for Bonney would be with S-Bear? As a revolutionary. Bonnie's mom was a revolutionary. Essentially, Bonnie's dad was a revolutionary. So she travels around the world with S-Bear, and then she ends up as a revolutionary with some Pacifista, with S-Bear, for the final war in which she can greatly impact it and carry on the will of her mom and her dad. So essentially, Oda has a replacement for Kuma. Kuma and Bonney does get to spend time together. If you've seen Avatar, The Way of Water, you can understand just how it's similar. But this is how Kuma stays alive. This is how Bonney gets her dad back, but also she's raising him. Someone asked the question before where it's like, okay, would S-Bear be Bonnie's brother, uncle? It's weird. It's honestly pretty weird, but I think it'd be a great culmination to the Kuma story with Bonney, where Bonney does get the happy ending. Kuma does have a peaceful death, but somehow his will lives on through S-Bear. With this happening, I think it opens the door for so many possibilities for Bonney. Bonney becomes an integral character going forward. We can see her come back once we see her at the final war, close to it, in the same gear as her mom, right, with S-Bear growing up. Again, something that was established early was that the Seraphim, they're kids. They still have a lot of growing to do. And one of my theories was that I think S-Bear could be one of the strongest, if not the strongest being ever created, considering not only the Lunarian blood, but also the Buccaneer blood confirmed. Now, most of the Seraphim could have Buccaneer blood, considering that they're all pretty sizable. They're large people, large things. People, I don't want to disrespect. But confirmed, S-Bear is the one with Buccaneer blood. So Bonney essentially has one of the strongest characters ever, potentially, with her, and also with the ability to affect the future or somewhat distort the future. I think Bonney has become one of the more important characters going forward. Now, for Bonney, does she go to Elbaf? I would think so. She goes to Elbaf for a while, goes with the Straw Hats, and then eventually she leaves from there with Esper. At first, I thought Bonney could be the Law for the next saga where she travels with the Straw Hats, but I think it makes a lot of sense for her to go along with Esper, or Esper goes along with them, but not all of the Seraphim. She can't control all of them, because then we take away some of the danger of the final war, and the Seraphim, they're going to be major players. Other than the Seraphim, who they have? The Vice Admirals, they're here and they're not doing anything, right? The Admirals, they're occupied. We see Kizaru, he looks like he's about to retire. Green Bull, who knows, in Fujitora, he's damn near revolutionary already. Akainu, he already doesn't like the Celestial Dragons and the Gorosei. Who knows what's going to happen with the Admirals? The main fighters are going to be the Gorosei, the God Knights, and the Seraphim. But even that is getting kind of shaky because we have Esnik. Guys, I'm not gonna lie, I've been waiting for a happy ending for Bonney. I think she deserves it. I think Kuma deserves a happy ending. And I would be happy if Kuma, the Kuma that we know, remains dead, but then he somehow lives on, where his will is literally embodied because the world government decided to use his likeness to create these clones and these weapons of mass destruction, and it becomes the same thing that causes their demise. I think is beautiful. We never got to see Prime Kuma. Like, we really never got to see him because once he was in the story, he was already technically dead. We will now get to see Prime Kuma with Lunarian DNA, again, with the motivation of having his daughter, quote unquote, with him. I did wonder about it being too far-fetched, considering just how strong S-Bear could be, and also the overkill that the revolutionaries would have with the Pacifista. When you think about it, the Celestial Dragons, if the God Knights live up to the hype, and they already have more Pacifista, it's just creating a more even playing field, because let's be honest, guys, for the most part, a lot of the numbers on the field, on the battlefield, will be just numbers. It's gonna come down to the God Knights versus the revolutionary commanders, which Bonney will be a part of by the end of the story. It fits too perfectly for Bonney to not be a revolutionary. Where is she going to go back to? It seems like her crew is decimated. She really has no purpose at this point other than carrying on the will of her mother and dad. She saw their memories. She saw Kuma's memories of Ginny and obviously of himself, so she knows what they were trying to do, what the undertaking was. It makes too much sense, guys. I didn't expect this to play out in the way it did, where Vegapunk put in this failsafe like that. I'm not mad at the failsafe. I'm just somewhat mad at the world government for not checking, but I guess for a failsafe like that, how would you know? You literally have to go through and try to find something like that. But with Vegapunk and how much I don't know, he's shown his hand without really showing it. And, you know, Saturn and the Gorosei, that's on them. Either way, let me know what you think about this theory, guys. Do you think this has some legs with Bonney going with Esper? This is a side note. Do you think Esper could be one of the strongest characters in history, considering the evolution and the potential of the Seraphim, and also the genes that's already built into him? Also having a devil fruit, I mean, the potential is limitless. And I wonder if Bonney can affect Esper. Could Bonney age up Esper? I mean, considering Esper is technically alive. I don't know, this presents so many different issues when you think about it, but selfishly, I would love for Bonney and Esper to be okay and for them to go off into the sunset. Let them travel to those places, that book that Kuma has, all the places, Karagana Island, Elbaf, Skypiea. Travel with Bonney, and she has some semblance of her dad still alive. Let me know what you think. I think it's actually pretty dope. But yeah, like the video, and shout out to Oda, because I'm sure this is Oda's intent for Bonney to somehow have her happy ending. I mean, the tragedy is clear. Everything she's been through her entire life is clear. We need the happy ending. Oda, hear me out. I know you're probably watching this. Kidding. For people that don't know, I'm joking. It would be an amazing culmination to this story and this saga. But guys, let me know what you think. Like the video, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, B.D.A, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.